guys, I'm Karen with Curl House. I am a licensed cosmetologist and a certified trichologist, and today we are going to talk about hair loss and locks. But before we get started, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel and turn on your notifications so that you do not miss a video. So again, today I wanted to talk to you about hair loss and locks. So if you have locks, you can still experience the very same types of hair loss disorders as people with loose natural hair or relaxed hair or just hair loss in general. And I want you, for those of you with locks, I want you to start paying attention to your hair, particularly if you feel like your hair is thinning or if the space between your locks is getting wider, then there may be something going on with your scalp and you may need to seek attention to get that under control. So I had a client come in today and her hair was thinning. She wore her locks. She typically wore her locks up, camouflaging her hair loss, but she said she was ready to address it, which is what you should do. So this is what her scalp looked like. Here's a picture of what I saw. Okay, so you can clearly tell that she's losing her hair. Now, when you have locks, your new growth should be strong enough to support the locks. So this is what I mean. So you can see in this picture, this is what the new growth toward the back of her hair, the hair that wasn't thinning, this is what her new growth typically looks like. It's quite a bit of new growth. It's thick, it's full, you can't see through the hair. But the hair toward the top, this is what her locks started to look like. Here's one picture. Here's another picture. And when I saw this picture, I knew that that lock was about to fall out pretty quickly. So let me just tell you this story. I was in cosmetology school a long time ago, and I did a rod set. And I rod set the lady's entire head, and then when I got finished, I realized it was one little teeny piece of hair hanging out. So what did I do? I took a rod and I rolled up that tiny piece of hair. And when the hair was dry, I took all the rods out. And what do you think happened to that tiny strand of hair that was rolled up on that rod? Yes, when I took that rod out, all of the hair came out. So it looks similar to this. This is Becky. This is my mannequin that I use for demonstrations. I call her Becky. Yes, she is black with green eyes and straight hair, but I still use her. So can you see this? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I rolled it up. Let me re-roll it. Okay. Now, can you see this? This is what... You see this little tiny piece of hair on this rod? Can you see that? And when I took the rod out, guess what happened? Her hair came out as well, because the rod is heavier than the anchor for the hair. Very similar to those of you with locks. And like my client's hair, when the lock is heavier than the hair, or the hair here that anchors here, that the new growth, when this is weaker or not as strong as the lock, that can lead to thinning hair. So for those of you with locks, if you are experiencing this, then you may want to really look into it. You may want to see a trichologist, talk to your stylist about it. I had another client who came in with thinning hair, and she didn't realize that so many of her locks were connected. Here's a picture of it. This is what I started to see. Her hair was thinning, and what should be one lock turned into 2 or 3 locks. So clearly there is something going on with the scalp when the hair is thinning like that. Now, I'm not saying connecting locks. Some locticians will connect locks because the locks are small. That doesn't necessarily mean that the hair is thinning. But I'm referring to times when the scalp hair is clearly thinner than the locked hair, and the scalp hair cannot support the lock. Like, again, here with Becky. This is what I mean. When the locked hair is thicker and fuller, can't support this hair, that's when there's an indication that something is going on with the scalp. There are many different types of alopecia that may be traction alopecia, Or there are many types of hair loss disorders. There's CCCA, there's scarring alopecia, there's genetic alopecia. I'm not going to go into all the different types of alopecia, but regardless if you have locks or not, you may have a hair loss disorder and causing your hair to thin out. Or it could simply be the weight of the locks is just heavy. A lot of people with locks will keep their locks trimmed and cut back because at some point those locks are really, really heavy and it may lead to hair loss. I say may lead because not always. I know with my lock training, sometimes the life of locks is around 10 years. After 10 years, some people may have to cut their locks off for that reason. So it is very imperative that you talk with your loctician. If you feel like your hair is thinning, you see a trichologist if you feel like it's thinning, but make sure you address the problem. Address it as soon as possible. I had someone ask me, when dealing with locks, is it best to cut the locks off, or can you treat the hair, can you treat the scalp with the locks? And to answer that question, it all depends on what's going on with the lock. And this particular client, the one I referenced earlier, I suggested that she go ahead and cut the locks off so that we can really, really get to the scalp and treat the scalp. Some people want to comb their locks out. That's an option too. You can comb the locks out as well as an option. From my experience, combing locks out take a very long time, and all of the tension and pulling with combing those locks out can also lead to damaged hair. So even if you do comb your locks out, you still may have to cut your hair, because the hair that grows from the scalp last is usually the healthiest hair. So talk to your stylist, talk to your loctician, talk to a trichologist if you feel like your hair is thinning with locks. And you may have to cut your locks off if your locks are just too heavy. But again, talk to someone about it. The sooner you talk to someone, the better your treatment will be. Okay, I just wanted to jump in and give you that piece of information about locks and hair loss. And until we talk again, stay fabulous.